Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're heading to a remote valley in Norway to investigate one of the most persistent and scientifically documented mysteries on the entire planet.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a puzzle. In this quiet little valley called Hessdalen, these strange glowing orbs keep showing up in the sky. And, well, they seem to just break all the rules we thought we knew about physics.
And here's where it gets really weird. The things these lights do are all over the place. I mean, they can be as big as a house and move at impossible speeds, but then they'll just hover, silently, for hours. It's this pile of contradictions that has scientists completely baffled and honestly fascinated.
Now, this isn't some new thing. People have been seeing these lights in Hessdalen since at least the 1930s. But things really kicked off in the early 80s, when there was this huge wave of activity. Suddenly, locals were seeing them 15, even 20 times a week. This quiet little valley had a very big, very strange secret.
This number, this is really at the heart of the whole mystery. Using special instruments to analyze the light, scientists figured out its temperature is around 5,000 Kelvin. To put that in perspective, that's basically as hot as the surface of the sun. And yet, and this is the crazy part, these things have reportedly landed on snow without melting it. They've been seen near trees without setting them on fire. How is that possible?
So what does that tell us? It means we are not dealing with simple heat here. There's this one incredible case where a light left a spiral pattern on the ground. Inside that track, the ground was sterilized. Bacteria were killed, but the snow itself wasn't melted. So whatever this energy is, it's something way more complex than just a big hot ball of fire.
You know, when sightings were peaking in the 80s, you'd think the scientific community would be all over this, right? But nope, crickets. There was just silence from the official institutions. So a group of really dedicated enthusiasts, engineers, and a few brave academics decided, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
And what started as a grassroots effort quickly turned into a serious, decades-long scientific project. They went from just amateur skywatching to a full-on field study with radar and advanced sensors. In just a few weeks, they documented 53 separate events, proving without a doubt that these lights were a real, physical, measurable phenomenon. And this is their tireless eye in the valley. They call it the Blue Box. It's an automated research station that has been watching the skies 24/7 every day since 1998. Think about this. It generates 90 gigabytes of data every single day. It's created this massive, unparalleled, and totally objective archive of whatever is happening there.
And the data that's come out of it is just mind-blowing. It's revealed just how powerful these things can be. One of them was measured putting out 19 kilowatts of radiant power. That's more than 10 times the power of a police helicopter searchlight. So let's be clear, we are not talking about distant car headlights here. These are major energy events.
Okay, so with all this hard data in hand, the investigation could finally move from what is happening to why. So scientists started putting forward different theories, and each one is kind of like a suspect in a detective story, trying to explain all the strange evidence from the valley.
Right now, there are two leading suspects, and they're both pretty wild. First up is the geological battery idea. It suggests the valley itself is a giant natural battery. You've got different metals on each side, and the river in the middle acts as the battery acid. Then there's the dusty plasma model, which thinks radioactive radon gas from the ground is charging up dust particles until they literally self-organize into these glowing, structured orbs.
Let's walk through that dusty plasma idea because it's fascinating. It's basically nature building its own lantern. It starts with natural radioactivity from the rocks, which energizes the air and dust around it. This creates a plasma that can actually organize itself into a glowing, sometimes geometric crystal. This could definitely explain some of the strange shapes people have seen.
But here's the problem. As you can see, neither suspect can explain everything. The battery idea? It's great for explaining the location and why the lights can last so long, but it doesn't explain their shapes. The plasma idea explains the shapes and the heat, but it has a really hard time explaining how these things can last for hours. Each theory has an alibi for at least one key piece of the puzzle.
And that leads us to the twist in the story. See, the case is still open, and not just because the science is really, really hard. It's also because of human factors, a real reluctance to even engage with something that doesn't fit into our neat little boxes.
And this quote from a report on the project's history, it just lays it all bare. Mainstream science was hesitant. You could even say they were afraid to touch a subject that was so closely tied to the whole UFO stigma. Researchers were worried about their careers and their reputations.
And this slide right here shows you the result of that stigma in black and white. Norway has an annual research budget of 11 times billion kroners. The amount of official funding that has gone to study this documented, real, physical mystery happening in their own country? Zero. A big fat nothing.
And on top of the funding problems, there are pieces of data in the files that are so strange they defy all the current theories. We're talking about objects tracked on radar that are completely invisible to cameras right next to it. Lights that seem to react and change how they're flashing when someone points a laser at them. This stuff keeps the mystery wide open.
So after all that, why should we really care about some weird lights in a remote valley? Well, because if we can finally figure out what they are, the implications for science could be absolutely massive. Just think about it for a second. This valley is a perfect natural laboratory. It's a place where we can study energy generation and plasma physics in a way that's totally impossible to create in a man-made lab. It's a front row seat to watch nature doing something we don't even understand, let alone know how to do ourselves.
And look, this isn't some fringe idea. As a respected physicist, Professor Boris Smirnov pointed out decades ago, solving this puzzle wouldn't just be an answer to a local curiosity, it would almost certainly lead to genuinely new science, maybe even new physics.
So what's the big picture here? Well, Hessdalen teaches us that our own planet might have natural energy sources we know nothing about. It shows us that passionate citizen science can sometimes achieve what the big institutions won't. And it reminds us that Hessdalen is one of the best, most data-rich examples of a real, recurring, unidentified aerial phenomenon out there.
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. The lights themselves are a mystery, for sure. But maybe the bigger mystery is why we're often so slow, so reluctant to investigate the genuine unknowns in our own world. What else is out there, just waiting for us to finally pay attention? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.